I guess Reginald Hudlin is feeling kind of stupid right now about establishing the center of the new Milestone universe around Black Lives Matter. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s in this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Get your copy of John Haynes, 1987 in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. 2 years ago, Reginald Hudlin decided to relaunch the Milestone universe. And as Reginald Hudlin and the original creators of the Milestone universe decided to relaunch the Milestone universe as part of Milestone 2.0, they decided to restart the Milestone universe not on the original Earth, which was created by the late Dwayne McDuffie. They decided to create a new Milestone universe on an Earth called Earth M. And on Earth M, they decided to change the Big Bang, which was the major event which led to the creation of most of the Milestone heroes and villains, from a gang rumble that took place on the original Milestone universe to the new Big Bang taking place after a Black Lives Matter rally. Now, this decision made by Reginald Hudlin and the creators of Milestone was meant to try to capitalize on current events. However, 2 years later, Black Lives Matter is on the brink of bankruptcy, and the entire organization is caught up in a scandal where many are questioning whether many of the expenses that were made as related to the hundreds of millions of dollars that were donated to Black Lives Matter actually were ones that were legitimate, because it seems like many of these expenses were designed to just enrich members of Black Lives Matter's leadership. And with this whole scandal revolving around Black Lives Matter, I have to wonder what kind of impact it's going to have on Earth M and the characters of the Milestone universe, now that everybody knows that Black Lives Matter could possibly be a fraud. Because with an entire universe based on the foundations of Black Lives Matter, this basically does serious damage to the structure of that universe now that the organization of Black Lives Matter is on the brink of bankruptcy and is now embroiled in scandals as related to many questionable expenses, and the fact that a lot of this money that was donated didn't seem to be allocated to those in need, but was given to those who had a lot of greed. And when I take a look at the whole establishment of the Milestone universe on the foundation of Black Lives Matter, as a writer, I can see how this could have serious damage to the structure of the Milestone universe on Earth M. Because if your entire universe is based on an event that took place in current events, and then later events go out here and prove that that organization that all of those characters were a part of or being directly impacted by was a fraud, then that really goes out here and damages the structure of the entire universe that you are trying to build. And that's basically, sadly, what's happened here with Earth M as related to the new Milestone universe, with the revelations as related to Black Lives Matter being seen as an organization that has basically not gone out here and helped to save or preserve Black lives, and most of the organization's money being seen as being spent with questionable expenses. The entire structure of the Milestone universe is now damaged, and there's no way you could possibly go out here and continue to build on that structure anymore. Because as a writer, I understand one of the core foundations of building a universe like the SJS Direct universe is that you have to make sure that your foundation is solid. Because if your foundation isn't solid, then you cannot establish any sort of structure as related to the stories in your universe, nor can you wrap around the form which creates the details of that universe. And at this point, with Milestone 2.0, the entire structure of the universe is now damaged, and it's basically damaged because we now know that the organization of Black Lives Matter, which many of the characters who were a part of the Big Bang went to march and protest for, is a fraud. And now that we know that the organization of Black Lives Matter is a fraud, everything that was built on that new Big Bang is now at the point where it is no longer a credible foundation for building a universe. And this was the major mistake made by Reginald Hudlin and the creators of the new Milestone universe, going out here and setting the Big Bang as a part of current events. This is something most writers who are seasoned like myself don't go out here and do, because when you set details as related to the foundation of a world on current events, what can happen is those events can change, and what that can do is, again, do damage to the structure of your universe. Moreover, when you go out here and and base things on what's going on in current events, the whole thing is that you can go out here and date your story, and that's the main reason why many writers like myself don't go out here and base our stories on current events, because it sets a hard date in time on your stories, and it makes it where that story basically becomes dated just as you're trying to build your universe. So this basing the entire universe on the whole organization of Black Lives Matter, again, this just basically damages the Milestone 2.0 universe to the point where it basically is not one universe anybody can go out here and see as credible anymore. Nobody can really take a look at this universe and see it as something that is solid to go out here and build more stories on, because the organization that Static and many of the other characters went to go out here and protest for is now been proven to be a fraud, and that basically invalidates everything as related to the structure of that universe and damages the structure to the point where you cannot really build on it any further. And again, this is all due to the, just as I see it, incompetence of Reginald Hudlin and the creators of the new Milestone universe, who were so eager to go out here and build a new Milestone universe, hoping to get the attention of many of the younger people by trying to infuse identity politics and politics into the new Milestone universe. But these efforts to infuse politics into the Milestone universe basically have rendered the Milestone universe inert at this point, because, again, no creator can go out here and build on a foundation that is made of sand, because that's what Black Lives Matter is. It was an organization which really didn't have a solid structure, didn't have a solid mission, did not have a solid direction, and as an indirect result, the new Milestone 2.0 has crashed and burned because it was laid on a foundation that was just rickety from the start. And it was rickety from the start because, again, they based everything on Black Lives Matter without doing research to see if Black Lives Matter would be a credible organization. And again, this is why writers like myself, who are seasoned, we never base our stories on current events or put them around current events. We will create a generic event like what the late great Dwayne McDuffie did with the Big Bang, because creating a generic event means that the story can remain canon, and many other writers can go out here and build on those stories, because you have something that comes out of that universe that is organic and something that can be considered to be canon without ever being connected to any sort of historical event. that's something every seasoned writer does because they don't want to go out here and have future events come along and derail whatever your foundation you're laying for the world you're building. Because if you have future events that come along and they prove that an organization like Black Lives Matter isn't credible, what will happen is everything that you built your world on will fall completely apart. And that's where Milestone 2.0 is right now, as related to its Big Bang being connected to Black Lives Matter. It's connected to an event that is now in an organization that is considered to be sketchy, an organization that is considered not to be credible, an organization that really didn't do anything for black people, and an organization that went out here and actively exploited black people and used the caskets of black men to enrich a small group of black men and black women. So the Milestone universe's whole mission has been compromised, and those heroes cannot go out on any further basically now because of the just chicanery that went on with the nonprofit Black Lives Matter. So when I look at what happened with the new Milestone universe, it's a universe that's basically just fallen completely apart, and it's all due to the incompetence of Reginald Hudlin and the creators of the Milestone universe, who were all in their feelings about and delusions about going out here and turning these characters into cash and looking to go out here and merchandise these characters to many of the social justice crowd. And now they have a universe that basically is just a complete mess at this point as related to its continuity. And it's a mess as related to its continuity because people at Milestone really didn't think about establishing a solid structure for their new Milestone universe. No, they had stars in their eyes and delusions of making it big by turning Milestone characters into not only comics but into TV shows and movies. And the whole thing is they won't be able to do any of that at this point because the structures and foundations of their universe are based on an organization that really has been proven to be a fraud at this point, to the point where Patrisse Cullors, one of the leaders of Black Lives Matter, basically had her deal with Warner Brothers scuttled very privately, and everything related to Black Lives Matter has turned to dust, and it looks like the Milestone universe is just, again, was built on that foundation, and on it being built on that foundation, sadly, Earth M is Earth HM, as I call it, and I call it Earth HM because it's a hot mess, and it's a hot mess because, again, Reginald Hudlin and Dennis Cowan and many others who created the original Milestone universe basically went out here and created a new universe without ever thinking about the whole foundation of what that universe was going to be built on. Again, good writers understand, yes, there are things that influence us as related to current events, like when I went out here and made a commentary about cancel culture in the book Esteem Cancel Vacation. I made my commentary about cancel culture in the pages of that story. And again, I wanted to make sure that that story, while I was talking about current events, could be relevant to everyone, because over the years, because I had studied many great writers like Gene Roddenberry and Rod Serling, who went out here and wanted to make social commentary on things going on at the time, but he didn't want to go out here and use current events. They wanted to comment on what was going on as related to the human condition. So there is a way to go out here and tell these kinds of stories if you want them to relate to a certain time in history, and that's what the late great Dwayne McDuffie did when he created the Big Bang. He was making a commentary on gangs and gang culture that was going on in the 90s, but that story was able to be adapted in the 2000s for the Static Shock TV show, because the Big Bang wasn't something that was revolving around an actual event that took place. It was revolving around an event that they created during that time, and it was able to be adapted for another time because gangs rumbling has been something people have been doing since the 1800s with the original draft riots of the gangs of New York and the gang rumbles of the 1950s. So there was something universal there people could relate to. Now, I also have gone out here and again done stories about certain times, like I just did with the John Haynes 1987 story. And again, while the story takes place in 1987 and takes place in places that were around at the time, like the Skate Key here in the South Bronx, again, I'm not tying it to current events, like events that took place at that time, like the Howard Beach incident or other incidents back then. No, I make sure that it's a general time and give you a picture of the time period, and I don't tie it to current events because, again, while the story takes place in 1987, the whole thing is I don't want to date the story. I want you to get a picture of history. So when I looked at what's happening here with the Milestone 2.0 universe, again, it's a universe that is, again, based on bad code, if you were want to talk about computers. And again, this universe's whole foundation, again, is completely damaged. And I don't know if this universe can go on now that we know that Black Lives Matter has no more credibility. I have to wonder what's going to happen with the Milestone universe now that Black Lives Matter has been shown to be an organization that has basically been shown to not go out here and want to help protect the lives of black men, not go out here and look out for the lives of black men, or show that Black Lives Matter to black people. I mean, how can you have your universe connected to this organization at this point? That's the critical question I would ask Reginald Hudlin and the creators of the Milestone universe. How can your universe go on now that you've got serious structural damage to your universe? How can you continue to tell stories about your new versions of Hardware, Icon, Static, and the Blood Syndicate, and the duo characters in your new Milestone universe, when everything that led to the creation of your new universe has fallen completely apart? Now, my first full comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, is currently available on Lulu, and if you want to pick up a copy of this comic that was launched on a 2022 Kickstarter successfully, you can pick up your copy of John Haynes at Death's Door by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to pick up my other comic, Esteem No Good Deed, you can find that comic on Kindle for 99 cents, and you can also find many of the other action-packed SJS Direct books like the John Haynes series, such as John Haynes Godbreaker and John Haynes 1987, the book Isis Legacy, and Esteem, Horror of the Hyena Woman. You can find all of these great SJS Direct books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find SJS Direct books and SJS Direct Universe books at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, Walmart, and Target. And if you'd like to see me be able to make more videos, comics, and be able to pay for the covers of many of the SJS Direct Universe books, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, Godbreaker in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.